to Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings, and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wildin' in the stand. For laid-back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gon' be our year. We're here, drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring, yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds TV, a Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans, by fans. We're ringing the cowbell. We're blowing the air horn. Kings win at the buzzer. Tyrese Haliburton hits the game-winning three in the corner, 95-94 over the Dallas Mavericks. Mavericks had a lot of guys missing tonight, but hey, it was an exciting game. Welcome in, everyone. On today's show, we're breaking down the Kings win over the Mavericks. We're talking IT's return to Sacramento. We're talking De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Haliburton, some unfortunate injury news around the league, and we'll again talk about Ben Simmons, if you can believe that. But Barry, let me get your first thoughts here on a very exciting Kings victory.
Yes, a lot closer game than I would have liked to see, just kind of similar to last night's game, but Kings win. That's the most important part. Dallas Mavericks were missing 9 players tonight, 8 of them in health and safety protocols, like myself, and one of them, Willie Cauley-Stein, due to an injury. They still make it close. I think this is a good learning lesson for Sacramento, and I think they need to look themselves in the mirror and say, hey, we were missing a bunch of guys, and we were getting blown out. Look at these guys. They're missing 8, 9 guys tonight, and they're still making it competitive. Guys are coming off the bench and producing. So, good overall win for the Kings, but this is a learning lesson for them as well.
Sure, I agree with that, as every game should be. My first thoughts on this game were I was just happy to see a really competitive game. You know, we've talked, or I have mentioned it multiple times in the last week or so, about how it sounds so quiet in Golden One Arena. There aren't really many people at the game. You know, the atmosphere just isn't really there. And I can't argue with why it wouldn't be. The Kings haven't been playing very well. They haven't had a lot of their star players on the court as of late. So there isn't really much of a reason or a draw to pack that stadium. But I was just really happy to see a close, highly contested game late in the fourth quarter that the Kings luckily came out on top. You got to hear big chants of defense in the crowd. I mean, you know, we'll talk all we want about how the Dallas Mavericks had a bunch of their players out, just like the Kings recently did. They didn't have Luka in this game, but it's still the NBA. Jalen Brunson went for, a huge night tonight. Porzingis was good. It's not like this team didn't have people that could still play basketball. I mean, this was a game that the Kings easily could have lost, and they had to pull it out late in the game, execute both ends, defense and offense. So tonight, we're happy, right? Back-to-back wins, as Mike says here in the chat.
Back-to-back wins, and Kings surpass the Spurs in wins. Now they have 15 wins on the season. They widen that gap a little bit from the Blazers and the Pelicans, and now we're looking up at Timberwolves and Lakers, who also lost tonight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Welcome in, everybody here. All the regular faces are here. DaBaby Daddy, Fred Dixon, Mike Monticello is in the building. Charlie is here. Jeff is here. Everyone, what's up? Welcome. How are you all doing tonight? Barry,
Ricky, Ryan, Gothan, what's up, guys? Welcome,
everybody. I apologize if I didn't mention you, but we're ringing the bell. Barry, I want to talk real quickly before we jump into the nightcap about the last play, or the last 2 plays, I guess, because it looked like the Kings actually had 2 different sets ready there. One, they knew that the Mavericks were going to take that foul to give there at the end. I was actually surprised at how quickly they took it. I felt like Dorian Finney-Smith could have waited maybe another half second to a second before he actually committed that foul on Tyrese. But then the final play there, the Kings seemed to have gotten exactly what they wanted. The lane was wide open. You felt like De'Aaron Fox was just going to throw it down like he did on Indiana last year. But he ends up hitting Chimezie Metu wide open in the corner. Metu had a fantastic game, I thought. 3 of 5 from 3 tonight. Really, really an improvement there from what we've seen from him in the past. Give me your thoughts here on the final 4 seconds of this game.
Yeah, I mean, really smart play by Tyrese Haliburton, going up with the ball. I know you're not going to get that call a lot, but that's just something you got to do. It's a veteran move. I'm happy to see him, learning those types of things. At the very end there, I think De'Aaron Fox made the right play. I know that there's probably going to be fans piling on saying, your best player should be taking the last shot. De'Aaron Fox needs to win the game for the Kings. This is why he's not a franchise player, blah, blah, blah. He made the right play tonight, and it ended up in a Kings victory. And that's all you can really say.
Totally agree with you. He made absolutely the right play. I mean, yes, he could have tried to go up and maybe get to the foul line, but we all know what happened the last time he did that when the Kings were down 2 in a close game and got to the foul line. Metu was wide open. That shot was for the win. I mean, that was just the right basketball play. It was the right move. So, and it worked out for them tonight. So whether or not you want De'Aaron Fox to take that shot at the end, that was just simply a smart basketball play. And if Chimezie had missed that shot, then I know more people would be piling on De'Aaron why he didn't shoot, pull up for a floater, or try to go in and create contact and get to the free throw line. But luckily, it went in. The shot was pure. And on that note, I think we should move on to the nightcap. We're here. I'm drinking a beer. Barry, I don't know. Are you drinking a beer?
We're drinking beer.
Vinny's drinking beer. Barry's still working remotely. I'm with my friend Spalding over here. We are talking about your Sacramento Kings. If you are a Kings fan, make sure that you hit that like button. And if you enjoy content like this, consider subscribing to our channel, Royal Rebounds TV. Welcome in, everyone. We're having maybe a little bit of difficulty here with our feed. We're trying to get Barry back. But, man, what an exciting game it was tonight. I'm going, as soon as Barry comes back in, I'm going to talk about Tyrese. We could talk about De'Aaron Fox. But the most excited I was tonight was seeing Davion Mitchell step back onto this court. He just has an immediate impact on the game. Of course, he goes 5 for 5 right away. Oh, hello. All good, all good. But it's just so obvious to me about how much Davion Mitchell affects this team in a positive way. Just brings so much both offensively and defensively. He struggled with his shot early on. What's up, Barry? Welcome back.
I'm back. Sorry, Hawaii problems.
I don't know if you heard me at all over the past couple of minutes, but I was just starting my opening statement here with how excited I was to see Davion Mitchell back on the court. His ability to affect the game offensively and defensively came out, had that great start, 5 of 5 from the field. When his shot is falling, especially from the outside, this Kings team is a much, much better team overall with the depth that he brings off the bench, having that extra point guard, having that extra scoring threat on the team as well. But more importantly, the type of defender, tenacious defender that he is. We saw him step in and take that big charge there in the second half on Porzingis. The guy fights over screens. He makes everything difficult from an offensive standpoint. What were your first impressions of seeing Davion back on the court tonight?
I was honestly a little surprised that we saw Davion play tonight. We hadn't heard much word about him. We talked about him a little bit last night, and then all of a sudden today they're like, oh, Davion Mitchell is going to be cleared and he'll be available. We saw Alex Len was cleared yesterday. We still haven't seen him play in a game. I saw an interview with Alvin Gentry, and they talked a little bit about how his health and safety protocols or his positive test has led to some conditioning issues with Alex Len, and that's why we weren't going to see him. But Davion did not have the similar issues. I guess he was in his to all his conditioning and everything and kind of stay on track. But I think this was a wonderful first game back from him. You know, we saw him hitting some shots, as you mentioned, 5 of 5 from the field, 12 points at halftime. He didn't do the same thing in the second half of the game, but you know, first good game back, and I'm really excited with everything that I've seen from him this game and in this entire season.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon, man, you were at the game. He says it was the most exciting game he's ever been to, period. That's a statement right there.
Wow.
I mean, this was an exciting game.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. I would have loved to have been in the crowd. I'm very, very jealous. Welcome, Kristen. Nice to see you here in the chat as well. Okay, Barry, so give me your impressions of De'Aaron Fox here tonight, because I feel like a lot of people, this is going to be kind of the biggest talked about thing here. What type of game he had. He was playing really, really well. He was really efficient getting to the basket. That turnaround shot was falling for him. And then he makes the great pass at the end to Chimezie to hit the game winner. What did you see from the Kings' star point guard tonight?
Well, you know, I saw some things that I like, some things that I didn't like. I'd still like to see him a little bit more aggressive on the defensive end of the floor. You know, he plays good defense in spurts, but he doesn't play it throughout the entire shot clock, and you see him kind of get lazy at times. And also some miscommunications between him and some of the other players. I saw Jalen Brunson have too many open shots tonight, which I didn't like, and that's not all De'Aaron Fox's fault, but I liked what I saw from him offensively. You know, not a huge scoring night for him, though he did lead all the Kings in scoring with 16 points. But all of his shots came inside the paint, and I really, really like that. You know, I feel like he's playing within himself and trying to integrate himself back into this offense. I would like to see a better assist-to-turnover ratio. You know, we talked about all the turnovers he's had lately. 3 assists tonight, 3 turnovers, 1-to-1 ratio. Not exactly what you want from your starting point guard, but he's trending in the right direction. Cal, I want to ask you a question real quick, just about that last shot. You know, we talked about how, you know, Fox made the right play, all this stuff. I think you and I both agree on that. But my question for you, Cal, is, was the 3-point shot the correct shot? You know, you look at situational statistics in basketball, stuff like that. You know, the Kings were down 2. They had a fully healthy team. They're playing against, you know, a depleted Mavericks team. They're at home. I like to think the Kings are probably favored if this game does go to overtime. So I just want to hear your thoughts on shooting that 3 versus maybe passing it to a guy for an open 2 with maybe a better chance of making the shot.
Well, I think that the way that the Kings set that last play up was absolutely the right way to set it up. You know, most plays, whether you're in high school, college, or the NBA, they all have options off of those plays. You know, you have your primary option, what you're looking for first. If that gets taken away, then you have your second and third option after that. I think that the 3 was not the original plan of this play. Clearly, they wanted to get everybody spread wide so that the lane was wide open. They got De'Aaron Fox the ball in space on the move so that he was able to catch and immediately start towards the basket. And when I saw him catch the ball, before he even caught it, I said, oh, he's going to have a wide open lane here to the basket, which I believe was definitely the first option. They wanted to get him going downhill, have nobody be in the paint, and let De'Aaron make the decision after that. What the Mavericks did was they rotated off him. You have to obviously stop the ball, right? So they took that shot away. And from there, it was really his choice. He could have very well tried to go up, put up a shot on the rim, maybe tried to get fouled, get an and one or something like that. But he made the right basketball play. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So whether or not going for the 3 was your first option or the right option, it's just how the play sort of unfolded. You know, I'll tell a real quick story here, and Mike Monticello, who's in the chat, probably remembers this. When I was a senior in high school, we're playing our last game of the year. It was senior night. We were playing Armio High School, which is in Fairfield. They were undefeated coming into that game. We needed to win the game to make the playoffs. Packed house. We're down 3 with about 10 seconds left in the game, and our coach calls up a play. Obviously, in this situation, we had to go for 3 because we were down by 3. But our coach calls a play for David Allison, another good friend of you and I, best outside shooter on our team by far. Of course, Armio knew that. So they call this play for him, or we call this play for him. We get him the ball in the spot that we want him to shoot from, but Armio took it away. They immediately switched off of an inbound screen, and they left me wide open at the top of the key. He hits me with the pass, and I hit the shot to tie the game. We go into overtime, we win, and we make the playoffs that year. So sometimes you draw up a play looking for one specific thing, but it doesn't always work, and you have to have that second option here. And so I really believe that the Kings weren't looking for a 3 automatically off of this play. It was definitely trying to get De'Aaron Fox at the rim. He just made the right move there. That shot was taken away. He had a wide open player in the corner for 3. The corner 3 is supposed to be the easiest 3 in the game, and Chimezie knocks it down.
Yeah, and it was a great pass. Really, really good pass.
It was, absolutely. All right, so Vinny, let's jump into the box score here real quick before we get too much further in depth on this game. Barry, as you mentioned, De'Aaron Fox leads all Kings scorers with 16 points on 7 of 12 shooting. He had 3 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers. Tyrese Haliburton, another double-double, his 5th double-double in the last 6 games, 12 points, 10 assists. Didn't shoot very well, 4 of 13 tonight and only 1 of 5 from 3. A lot of contested shots. Harrison Barnes, 14 points on 4 of 10 shooting with 6 rebounds. Davion Mitchell leads the way off the bench with 14 points in 19 minutes, 1 rebound and 1 turnover. And Chimezie Metu, game winner, 3, 11 points, 8 rebounds as well. Buddy Hield, another very confusing night, 3 points on 1 of 5 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3. The Kings shoot 48% from the field and 38.5% from 3 to close this game out. As we bring Barry back in here. There we go. Welcome back, Barry. All right, talk to me about Tyrese Haliburton. What did you see out of Tyrese tonight?
Well, I saw an 8-second violation that I didn't like. I think these are just kind of small things. We talked about footwork. We talked about the left hand. These are just kind of little mistakes that I'm very confident that he can correct, but just things that he's got to work on. And I think that each game that goes on, he's going to have more and more of these things happen, and it's going to be a learning lesson for him to get a little bit better. But, I love seeing him pass the ball tonight. Only 2 turnovers, 10 assists. He didn't shoot the ball that great, but he was playing within himself. He was playing some really good defense. And, I thought it was a great game by Tyrese.
No, I would agree with that. He obviously didn't have his shot fallen as much as we've seen from him in the past or in the past few games. But, part of that is as Tyrese is developing into more of a premier guard in this league, they talked about it on the broadcast tonight. He's going to see the primary or the best defender on every team now going into it. Teams are going to try to take him out of what he does best. And I thought that the Kings, for the most part in this game, the third quarter was a little bit ugly with the turnovers, but I thought for the most part in this game, they really did a good job of executing in the half court within their different sets. When they had Tyrese out there running the pick and roll with Rashawn or with Damian Jones or even Marvin Bagley occasionally, they were finding ways to score that way. The ball was moving, and they allowed De'Aaron Fox to get the ball in space as well. And one of the things I actually really liked about this game was I saw De'Aaron Fox post up a bunch of times. And I actually think that that's something the Kings should look to use more in the future. He doesn't always have the greatest height advantage like he did tonight over Jalen Brunson. But now that he's put on this extra weight and he has a really good turnaround, step back, mid-range jump shot, teams have to respect him if he's going to play, in the mid to low post. We saw them double him, double De'Aaron Fox after they kind of set him up with his back to the basket a couple of times. Barry, what do you think? Do you like that from the Kings? Do you think that that's something they should look to use more going forward?
Yeah, I think with De'Aaron Fox, he's been struggling a little bit, so you kind of got to go with whatever works for him. I don't like all the point shot taken on earlier in the season, so I'm happy to see him taking a lot of these shots in the point or in the paint, whether it's him posting up or him driving to the basket. I just love seeing the aggressiveness out of him. And he seemed a little bit more willing to pass the ball tonight. I know it doesn't reflect it in the box score, but he just seemed like a little bit more of a willing passer tonight. We saw that with that very last play and that pass to Metu.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the bang comments, by the way, here in the chat. The Mike Breen bang for the Chimezie Metu game.
And working down
that
into the post is a great opportunity to kick the ball out to open guys, too, if you do end up getting double teamed and stuff like that.
No, it is totally. And I think that's a great way for him to get to the free throw line more consistently. He's really got a great pump fake, and he's so explosive that guys have to respect that move anyway. But I feel like with the weight that he's put on, he can really put people in a bad position defensively if he gets the ball in the right positioning. Everyone knows that he loves to use that turnaround fadeaway. And I think that this is kind of a way in the half court that they could use both Tyrese and De'Aaron, because they could ISO or, run sort of a set offense where De'Aaron gets the ball in that mid to low post up range. And if he's doubled right away, or if the defense takes that away, he can then hit Tyrese out at the top, and they still have the 2-man pick and roll game that they can use with Rashawn. So that to me is one of the ways that both of those guys can actually be used in the same sort of offensive set.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's talk about Davion Jones tonight. I didn't mention him in the box score here. Nothing really eye-popping in terms of his stat sheet. 6 points, 6 rebounds, 22 minutes, 3 of 5 from the floor. He also had 3 turnovers. But I love the energy that this guy, we talked a lot about Tristan Thompson as being a guy that brings such great energy off the bench. And I really feel like Davion Jones does the same thing. To me, I'm loving more of Davion Jones every time I see him play. He really hasn't put it together in terms of consistency, from his statistical output. But I love everything that he brings. A big body that has really, really good feet. He moves his feet incredibly well, especially on defense for a big man. Good screen setter, has moves that guys like Richaun Holmes just don't have. We've seen him hit that turnaround fadeaway jump shot. I didn't really like the threes that he takes with consistency here, especially in this game. I would like to see him kind of shy away from that. But how do you feel about Davion Jones? And do you think, as we've seen over the past couple of games, Tristan Thompson really not get a lot of run? Is that a good move for the Kings? Do you like Davion Jones being the first guy off the bench here at the center position?
That's a tricky question. I think it really depends on, what the matchup is versus the team that you're playing. But, I really like Davion Jones a lot. I do agree with what Charlie said here in the chat. He had a lot of bad fouls tonight, just kind of some dumb fouls. Things that, I think that as he gets older, as he gets more experience, he's going to get much better and kind of iron out some of those things. But I love his enthusiasm. I love, his energy on the court. We saw him get a little tip dunk, put back, which was awesome. When you're struggling to rebound the ball, you need bigs, and you need bigs that are going to be crashing the glass. And that's exactly what he does. And the only thing for me that's better than the rebound is a putback, because you're getting the rebound and you're guaranteeing yourself 2 points and potentially 3 points if you get fouled on that putback. But I think the real hero, I guess, big man tonight, I would say, would be Marvin Bagley. I was really impressed with Bagley, especially early in this game. I think he had a 7-0 run himself in the first quarter. You look at the end box score, only 11 points, about the same as Metu, 4 of 8 from the field, the same as Metu. Metu had one more rebound, 8 to 7. But I really, really liked what I saw from Marvin Bagley. And, you and I have been critical of players when they don't play well, and I like to praise guys when they do play well. And I really like what I saw from Damian Jones and Marvin Bagley tonight.
Yeah, interesting. We've talked so much about how the Kings are a really deep team. Obviously, when they're at full strength, they have all their bodies. And tonight was one of those nights. All of these guys are now officially back and eligible to play. And we've seen the Kings play 12, 13, sometimes even 15 players in one game. Tonight, they only played 9 guys. No Tristan Thompson, no Terrence Davis, which was a bit of a surprise to me. What do you make of the rotations and the lineups in this game tonight?
I think Coach Gentry is just happy to have a bunch of these guys back, and he's just trying to integrate them into the offense. There's no reason to play all these other guys when you have all these guys that are healthy. They've been resting. Davion Mitchell missed 6 games, so you want to get him integrated back in as quickly as possible. And that's kind of what I chop it down to, is just trying to integrate guys back in, and giving them big minutes is the quickest way to do that.
Yeah, it's an interesting set of problems to have, going from a team where you only have 8 or 9 guys available to now you have all these guys available. And, Tyrese has been on a really good run. De'Aaron Fox, before he was sidelined, was playing really, really well, at least offensively. And now, you're trying to integrate, like you said, these guys, these other people back into the lineup, get them more of an opportunity. Davion Mitchell, first game back, he comes out red hot, 5 of 5 from the field. So it's just a very different set of problems from a coaching standpoint as to, okay, how do I, get these guys back into a rhythm, after being sidelined for multiple games, and how do I keep the players that have been on the court and playing really well going at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. And then you got to make them all fit together. I don't know how they're going to do that, but happy with the victory tonight. It might have something to do with Mavericks missing 9 players.
Mavericks were missing a ton of players. No Doncic, no Trey Burke, no Tim Hardaway, Maxi Kleber, Boban, Willie Cauley-Stein, Reggie Bullock. The list goes on. And those are all very meaningful players for them. They're in the same situation that the Kings were just a few days ago or a week ago now, I guess. What do you make of that? I mean, they play again on Friday. I don't know if any of these guys, 8 of their 9 players missing, are in health and safety protocols. So with the new agreement here in the league, shortening that quarantine period, it does present the opportunity for some of these guys to come back for that game in Sacramento on Friday. No telling right now if they will or not, but this is still a legitimate win in your mind, right?
I mean, as long as it goes in that W column, I'm pretty happy about it. But yeah, they definitely got to show up. They got to play a little bit better on Friday. We'll see how many of these guys end up coming back. It's really hard to these days. It seems like if you're on the Lakers, you only have to quarantine for 2 days. But if you're on the Kings or another team, you got to quarantine for a little bit longer than that. All I can say is I'm really stoked that Dalvin Cook's coming back for my fantasy football playoffs this weekend, because
are you in the championship game?
Get this championship.
You are in the championship.
You know it.
All right. Well, that's unfortunate, because you and I drafted basically the exact same roster in 2 different leagues, and I failed to make the playoffs. I don't know how that's possible, but I wish you the best of luck in the championship. I want to talk about Harrison Barnes real quickly. Didn't have the greatest shooting night. He was 2 of 4 from 3, 6 rebounds, 14 points, 4 of 4 at the free throw line. But I saw a different Harrison Barnes tonight. And to me, what it really comes down to is health. He just looked more explosive. He looked like he had a quicker first step. The very first moment he caught the ball in this game, quick jab step, pump fake, step back 3. He did miss the shot, but he just looks like he feels a little bit better to me physically. What did you see from Harrison tonight?
Yeah, I agree with you. I like a lot that I saw from Harrison Barnes tonight. The Mavericks were being really physical with him. They were pushing him off his spots, and they were making a ton of contact with him when he was getting close to the rim. I think I liked everything except for that spin move to the basket and easy layup towards the end of the game. I also saw him at the top of the key at the very end, so he was open for a potential three as well, game winner. But I think HB is getting a little bit more healthy here as we go on each game, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I agree. He didn't shoot as well as most people would have liked, but that's the type of Harrison Barnes that I like to see for this team. A guy who's aggressive, trying to get downhill. I think he needs to be putting up threes when he has the opportunity, open threes, because the guy has turned into a really good outside shooter. And I just think he needs to be looking for his shot more. But I think it's clear to me after watching this game that he's starting to feel better physically. So that's only a good sign here for the Kings. If he can continue to knock down outside shots and add another scoring dimension to take a little bit of the pressure off of De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton, and also just make defenses have to second guess a little bit more. The ball has to continue to move through all three of those players. I think they kind of got away from that a little bit in the second half, in the third quarter. And yeah, I mean, that layup there at the end, it was a great move. He just blew the layup. That's one of those plays that I think if you have him run 10 times, that's probably the only one or maybe the second one that he misses out of those. So it was just a little unfortunate. Let's talk.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, he's making that shot. And Charlie, it is a difficult layup, but you're a professional NBA player. You make difficult shots. That's your job.
Definitely. It's one of those moments. I think if he had that shot again, he would have put it down. Let's talk Kings defense for a minute. I know this is a subject that we don't talk about very often. They only allowed 94 points tonight after giving up 30 in the first quarter, which 30 actually sounds kind of low for this team. But over the last couple of games, it's definitely not perfect by any means. I'm not going to go out here and say that this is one of the top defensive teams in the league. But I have noticed over the past couple of games that the effort is there. It's definitely more so there. I see more guys moving their feet, including De'Aaron Fox. I've seen him over the past couple of games actually play real defense by moving his feet instead of reaching. Not all the time. They did allow a bunch of runs tonight. But I think that they're taking the very tiniest of baby steps in the right direction here. Do you get the same sense or the same feeling?
Yeah, I do. I think part of it is just they've been on a couple losing streaks lately. Coaching staff's not happy. Guys have been in and out of the lineup. I see it here in the comments, and I agree. Alvin Gentry has been much more vocal with this team. We saw him call them out to the media just, a couple nights ago. I think Doug Christie was head man in the role for a couple games. He had a pretty big impact on that. But, guys are just trying more. I guess they don't want to get blown out like these games. Sometimes, you go through all those bad feelings, and just thinking about how bad you feel after you get blown out by a team makes you try harder in your next game. But I think it's just getting these guys back healthier, getting them all on the same page. And obviously missing all these Mavericks tonight was huge for the Kings. The Mavericks probably left 80 points on the bench tonight just with all those guys out in COVID protocols. So,
wow, 80 points.
That definitely helps Sacramento.
So you're saying with all those guys
all
healthy,
those guys' averages,
they would have scored, about 170 is what you're saying.
All those guys' averages that they're missing tonight. How many points is that? That's got to be at least 70 points.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. So if we go back to my keys to the game here, my key to the game, I was fed up with trying to read into the analytics and the stats and all that stuff. I just said they had to get stops. in order to win this game. And they did. They maybe should have won this game by more than 1 point. They ended the first half, the second quarter, on a great run. They were playing really good defense. They were playing very efficient offense. They built a good lead, and they squandered that in the third quarter again by this unfortunate habit they have of creating these bad turnovers. And they allowed the Mavericks to go on a big run there. But the thing I noticed about that run the most was most of those baskets. I mean, Jalen Brunson had a great game. I don't want to take anything away from him. A lot of his shots were contested on that specific run in the third quarter that allowed the Mavericks to not only get back into the game, but take the lead. If the Kings just cut half of those turnovers out, there's no way the Mavericks are going on an 11-0 run or whatever it ended up being, 14-0 or whatever. So I do love I liked a lot the defensive effort, contesting shots. To me, they should have won this game by more than 1 point. They shouldn't have been in a tight game there at the end because they had the Mavericks right where they wanted them. They just didn't, again, play a complete game, and they fell into that bad turnover habit. Only 5 turnovers in the first half, and they come out in the third quarter with 6 or 7 right away. It just totally threw them for out of the loop here in this game.
Yeah, definitely. And, they did give up a couple runs. It was an 11-0 run, I think, in the fourth quarter. But I want to give a little bit more credit to Alvin Gentry. Something that he took over for Luke Walton was Luke Walton comes from that old school Phil Jackson type where he's like, I'm not going to call a timeout. You guys got yourself in this mess, and you're going to get yourself out of it. And maybe that works when you have future Hall of Famers on your team and you have, some of the best players that have ever played the game. But with a team like this, that just doesn't work. So Alvin Gentry has definitely been much better in calling timeouts to help stop some of these runs. That's a big, big difference that I've noticed between Luke Walton and Alvin Gentry. And I think that he did a great job tonight in calling timeouts right to stop some of these runs. I wish he would have held that challenge a little bit later. I think he called that a little early in the fourth quarter. Yep. I would love him to hold on to that. I heard Katie talking about it. Maybe that foul on Tyrese Haliburton late in the game where it was an intentional foul and he puts the ball up for a 3. Maybe that would have been challengeable if we still would have had that challenge. But, I'm just nitpicking here. But I really like what he's done with his timeouts.
So you still want Doug Christie to take over this team?
Oh, yeah. But, hey, I still got to give Gentry credit where credit's due.
There you go.
And I'm not saying I don't want him on the bench for the rest of the season. So, maybe they could be co-head coaches. I don't know. It's all semantics at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. It is sort of semantics at this point. Anything from the team stats really jump out to you from this game? Because they do play the Mavericks again on Friday, so this is going to be something that they have to look at for a quick turnaround here.
So pretty funny here, looking through all these team stats, they're almost all identical. You look all the way down here, rebounds are so close, assists are close, turnovers are close, fouls, everything is so close. I'm going to tell you what the difference maker in the game is here, and you're going to laugh at me at this. I'm going to say free throws.
Oh, I'm not going to laugh at all.
70% in free throws tonight. They only shot 13. They made 9. I know they only missed 4 free throws tonight. Kings missed 2. If the Mavericks had shot better from the free throw line, they would have won this game.
No, I agree with you completely. I'm not laughing at that at all. In a close game, free throws are an incredibly important statistic to watch, and this was a very close game. For most of the way, both teams were up by double digits, but it ended up, coming right down to the wire. And in a game that comes right down to the wire, it's about late game execution and hitting free throws. And luckily, the Kings were able to do that tonight. Yeah. Yes, I do keep harping on Barry about liking Doug Christie. Kristen, you're right. I don't want that to come off the wrong way. I like Doug Christie too. I just like to give, Barry little jabs here and there. That's all.
I think we need to get that Christy Fox footage where he gives them the uppercut. I think we need to get that in the intro video or something. I love that clip.
Yeah, if we can use that, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I could open up your eyes too. I appreciate the sarcasm in your comment there, but it is true. It does come down to hitting free throws. So, do you have anything else, Barry, that you want to touch on with this game before we move on?
Happy to get a win here against, a shorthanded Mavericks team. They got another shot Friday. Kings need to do what they did tonight, and they need to do it better to get another win. That's the most important thing.
100%. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will dive deeper into your Sacramento Kings with Around the Crown.
Kristen, I see you.
Welcome back. This is Around the Crown. We're talking all things Sacramento Kings and beyond. Join the Royal family today by hitting that subscribe button, and while you're down there, you might as well smash that like button as well. Okay, Barry, so the first thing that I want to talk about, I've already seen it here a couple times in the chat, Isaiah Thomas's return to Golden One Center, or I guess to Sacramento, not to Golden One Center. But you heard the great ovation there from all the 17 fans that were in the building watching this game. What do you make of IT's return now, not just to Sacramento, but to the NBA as a whole?
Happy to see him out there, but what a rough start for this guy. He just literally got signed today. They said he flew in at 3 p.m., got to the arena, started to shoot around, into the game, gets a huge ovation, probably very emotional for him. It looked like he airballed or just barely hit the rim on that first shot. But, player, awesome person. I just love his drive. This guy's been counted out how many times in his career, and he just keeps coming back. And, that is really, really respectable. So just happy to see him back doing what he loves. And, I wish the best for him.
No, I agree. I wish the best for him as well. 13 minutes tonight, 3 of 8 from the floor, 0 of 3 from 3, just 6 points. Also had 4 assists. He did hit a couple of really big shots, contested shots there in the second half to keep this game close. I think all Kings fans, like Kristen, are happy for Isaiah Thomas. I hope that he's able to stick with a team longer than just 10-day contract to 10-day contract eventually. I really do think that he deserves a shot in the NBA. It's taken him a long, long time to get back. And anybody who's seen that viral video on YouTube of him after scoring, what was it, like 81 or 82 points in some random league game, and he just collapses at the end in tears, saying, "I just don't know why I can't get another shot." You really feel for a guy like that who was so close to being at the top of the mountain, an MVP candidate who looked like an invincible player there for, even if it was just a small amount of time, to have such a huge falling from grace like that. It's obviously fantastic to see someone stick with it and come back and eventually make his return here to the NBA. And
when you're a guy that's small like that, basketball is a height game. It really is. So when you're that small, and he's not that small, but compared to a lot of these guys, he is small. It's just that much harder, and you have to be that much more dedicated and have that much more skill to be on the same court with these guys. You remember when we were watching that Cold as Balls with him and Kevin Hart? It was hilarious. Kevin Hart kept calling him small or short, and Isaiah Thomas was like, "I'm not small, man. I'm regular. You're small."
No, you're right about that. And I see too here in the comments, I agree with you completely. He's talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers perhaps being the next team that needs Isaiah Thomas. Ricky Rubio is now out for the season, torn ACL. Really unfortunate. The guy was having a pretty good season coming off the bench there in Cleveland. Darius Garland is in health and safety protocols. Is Cleveland the next stop on the reunion tour for the NBA for Isaiah Thomas?
Oh, it's very, very possible. And, I read an article about the Cleveland Cavaliers today, and I found it very, very interesting. Many teams, and I think the Kings are included in this, have been moving towards that small ball lineup. And the Cavaliers have gone in the complete opposite way. We saw them start almost 3 7-footers. I think it was 2 7-footers and a guy that was 6'11". I'm going to call him 7 foot anyways. And they're still winning games, and they're playing great. So I love to see guys that think outside the box. It's funny that it's actually considered outside the box thinking at this day and age to play 3 7-footers. But, I root for them when they're not playing the Kings. And, I like what I've seen. Everybody's kind of going through these injury bugs. Obviously, Ricky's a big part of what they do, and he's going to be out much longer than 7 to 10 days. But they're moving in the right direction. They got a lot of young guys, a lot of young talent, and Kings need to look over there and say, hey, look what these guys are doing. Maybe we can model something after them. There's a lot of these small market franchises all around the NBA that the Kings can look at and say, this was a successful rebuild, or this was a retooling, or this is what they did. As a business major in school, I looked at a ton of case studies. And if you want to be one of the best teams, you got to look at the best teams. And you got to look at teams that are similar to you. You can't compare the Kings to the Lakers. You can't compare them to a lot of these bigger market franchises. But look at a team like Cleveland. Maybe we need to do a similar path as them.
So you're saying we need to get, 4 consecutive number 1 overall picks.
That's a
draft
start.
Guys like LeBron and Kyrie and Andrew Wiggins that you can flip for other players.
Yeah. No Anthony Bennett though.
They have been extremely lucky in the draft lottery. Extremely lucky.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say Vivek's daughter is not as lucky as Dan Gilbert's son.
Well, we don't know. She hasn't been up there, right? Maybe we just need to put her up there.
Just once.
Just one time. I agree with you, too. The Kings need some length. Absolutely. So real quickly here, All-Star voting ends January 22nd. Barry, are you voting for Tyrese Haliburton every day from now until January 22nd?
Oh, you know it. You know it. I'm going to try and make a bot that'll vote for me so I don't have to do it all myself. But I already got the alarm set in my phone. So I'm definitely voting Tyrese Haliburton All-Star, and I hope you all do the same.
Do you actually think he has a shot at being named to the All-Star team?
Depends on how many bots I can create, honestly. I mean, if I'm stuck in here for another week, I might have a lot of free time.
That is true. Barry is in the health and safety protocols if you guys are just joining us for the first time here. Vote, vote, vote. Kristen is right. I mean, heck, these guys, we need a Kings player in the All-Star game at some point, right? I don't know if anyone is necessarily deserving of it this year. I think Tyrese is deserving of it for the last week and a half that he's played, but that's not a good enough resume, in my opinion. But it would just be fun to see a Sacramento Kings player in the All-Star game.
I think it's going to happen, probably not this year, but I think it's going to happen next year. I think we'll see one.
You're Tyrese 2023. Or 2022,
Tyrese or whoever we trade for.
Or whoever, yeah, there you go. Davion Mitchell, rookie MVP. I like that.
Who knows?
I like Davion Mitchell a lot. A lot. All right. You want to talk about Ben Simmons again?
He's got some stiff competition, though. He's got some stiff competition. That guy Duarte has been playing great in Indiana.
Yeah.
And
Franz
some of
Wagner
these other guys are picking it up as well. Davion's missed some games, but...
No, this rookie class has really played incredibly well when you look at all these guys. I mean, a lot of people really haven't even talked about Cade Cunningham. He's been kind of dealt a shitty hand in Detroit, but he's had his moments. Jalen Green got hurt early on, but he was really exciting. early on in the year when he was playing. This is going to be a really good rookie class moving forward. A lot of these guys are going to have very, very successful careers, and I think Davion Mitchell is going to be one of those as well. Are you ready to talk about Ben Simmons again?
100%. Let's do it. Let's get it over with.
Okay. So it's been rumored that the Indiana Pacers are interested in Ben Simmons. Are you worried that this is going to mess up not one but two potential trades that the Kings could have with both teams?
I'm not worried at all. I think this is actually a positive. You know, early on in the year, they were talking about potentially trading for Ben Simmons. And the Sixers, they wanted Malcolm Brogdon back in that deal. Well, since then, the Pacers have signed Brogdon to an extension, so he's not eligible to be traded. But, you know, I'm still sticking with this Miles Turner, Caris LeVert to Sacramento deal. You know, maybe they can jump in and make it a three-way trade. I want to hear your take, Cal. Ben Simmons,
Kyle,
Miles Turner, and LeVert. Which one would you rather have?
Ben, not each individual, Miles Turner and Caris LeVert or Ben Simmons?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to take Caris LeVert and Miles Turner. I think anybody who's watched this show in the past knows how I feel about Ben Simmons at this point. It's not that I don't like him or don't think that he can contribute as a player, but with the way that everything has unfolded in Ben Simmons' career to this point, there's just too many red flags for me to trade my best player, my franchise player, for him when I don't know what I'm really going to get in return. You know, there's just so much uncertainty around Ben Simmons right now. But if I could get Miles
maybe
Turner
we can
and
make it a
Caris
three-way
LeVert,
trade. You know,
Sorry?
and we talked about straight up trading, you know, for Miles Turner and LeVert and what that would look like. But a lot of Kings fans are trying to get rid of Buddy Hield, and if we were to do a 3-team deal, maybe we'd be able to include Buddy Hield and ship him out in that trade as well. But you know, I think Fox maybe going to Philadelphia, LeVert coming to Sacramento, and Ben Simmons heading to Indiana would be a win-win-win for all three teams. And I like what Tu's saying in the chat too. I like Miles Bridges. You know, it looks like they're not going to be able to re-sign him, so maybe we move on from a guy like Harrison Barnes and we bring in a younger version that we might have some money for this offseason.
No, I like Miles Bridges a lot as well. I think that would be a great player to go and get. I don't really necessarily think that trade is a realistic trade, though. Miles Bridges and Miles Plumlee for Rashawn Holmes and Terrence Davis. It doesn't seem like Charlotte's getting back enough value for a guy.
No, you're going to have
Miles
to
Bridges.
offer him the max offseason.
Yeah. And then in terms of Ben Simmons, you know, I see Phoenix plays. Ben Simmons is worth more than Miles Turner and Caris LeVert. I'm not so sure I agree with that. Ben Simmons is a phenomenal defensive player. He's been an all-star before. But we just keep going back to this. Ben Simmons should be one of those generational players in the league. Ever since he was drafted number 1, this guy should have been, you know, he's like, his skill set is one of the closest to LeBron James's as anybody that's come into the league, you know, in the last 15, 20 years. But he has not improved his game really much at all, in my opinion, since he's come into the league. He's always been a good defender. He's always been a good playmaker. His free throw shooting has gotten worse. His outside shooting hasn't improved at all. And what's more worrisome is you don't see his mentality focused on becoming one of the dominant players in this league. Yes, he's an all-star and an all-star that has a lot of value to this team, length, defensive ability, all of that stuff. I just don't think that, yeah, and whatever. I mean, we're saying that he wasn't utilized the right way. I don't think that's the case in Philadelphia. I think they used him fine. At some point when you're that talented, it's not about how you're used on the court, whether the coach puts you in the right position. It's about you making the effort, making the change to your game to become one of the dominant players in this league. And that's something that I haven't seen from him. And now we haven't seen him on the court in a long time. He goes through the motions at practice. He has the mental breakdown, basically, that limits him from being on the court or part of the team at all. And that's all a ploy, probably, in my opinion, to get out of Philadelphia. But I just would really like to see the Kings make a play for some guys that I know are going to step in and help right away. And with Ben Simmons, I don't see that necessarily happening. Plus, there's this question of who do you pair him with at the point guard position, De'Aaron Fox or Tyrese Haliburton? Ben Simmons, in order to be effective, he needs the ball in his hands. He's got to be a playmaker. He's not a catch-and-shoot type guy. I know you want him to play a Draymond Green role, but I don't think that's really what would happen necessarily. He doesn't want to play power forward. We know that he's said that in the past. And Tyrese Haliburton wants to – no, Ben Simmons isn't a 4. I'm sorry. He's a point forward. He doesn't play power forward. He needs the ball in his hands. He needs to run the offense. And Tyrese needs that as well. So I don't like pairing the two of them together. I don't really like pairing him and De'Aaron Fox together necessarily either, because both of those guys need the ball in their hands. And I don't think the Sixers are going to want to trade for a straight-up Ben Simmons for De'Aaron Fox deal either, because then you have Tyrese Maxey and De'Aaron Fox in the backcourt, and that isn't a good fit, in my opinion, from the 76ers point of view.
True.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, man.
Somebody's got to give Brendan
way better than
a
Ben
gold star
Simmons
here, because right on the head here. Hallie, LeVert, Dort, Holmes, Turner would be great. Good job, Brendan.
Yeah,
I love
think that
I love
lineup
that
is
comment.
great.
Great comment. You know, another thing you got to think about too, when we talk about whether you'd rather have a guy like Ben Simmons or Turner and LeVert, is what your team needs are. You know, if you're looking to upgrade a certain position, then maybe you're better off getting a guy like Ben Simmons, because maybe he's going to be an upgrade of whatever you have at that position. But the Kings have multiple holes, and they need multiple people, and some of these guys don't even fit together. So when you're able to bring in a LeVert and a Turner and fill 2 positions instead of 1, I think it's a much better option for them.
No, I agree. It's what it comes down for me is just constructing this team in a better way so that they can play a more consistent style of basketball that's going to be more conducive to winning. And Ben Simmons does help this team in some of those aspects. But there are just a lot of red flags with him for me. Talk to any Philadelphia 76er fan, that they will probably have a similar response, in that the talent and upside in Simmons has been there since day one, but the guy hasn't delivered on any of that.
Yep. Yeah, Phoenix, I actually agree with you. And this is, where Calvin and I differentiate a little bit. I think that Simmons could be effective at the 4. I think he could be effective playing a forward role at the 4, playing defense. But the problem is where he fits with another guy handling the ball. And also, we just talked about motivation, and a guy that's not been willing to motivate himself. He's not self-motivated to get better every season. And when you end up in a place like Sacramento, there's not going to be a lot of other guys that are there to motivate you. And it's really easy to get complacent. He's already pissed, and his team's in the playoffs. Imagine if he goes to Sacramento and we go on another 9-game winning streak, or sorry, losing losing streak. That.
Sorry, guys, technical difficulties here. I agree with a lot of what all of you guys are saying about Ben Simmons' talent level. He should be somebody that could take a LeBron James method or take a page out of LeBron James's book and play the power forward position. But what I'm saying is that's the difference between these two guys. LeBron, very, very different set of circumstances on that Miami team where he ends up playing sometimes the four. I mean, you could really say that LeBron played all five positions at any time. I don't know if I could really key him into one specific position on that team, but it's the mental aspect of it as well. He knew that he had to accept a different role on that team, and he was willing to do it, A, because he is that talented and he can, and B, because he just wants to win that much. And that's the side of it with Ben Simmons that I don't see. I don't see him making the necessary sacrifices off the court, putting in the work to improve his game. I don't see the mental wherewithal behind him to say, all right, this guy is my franchise player. I don't even consider him to be the franchise player. I never considered him the franchise player in Philadelphia. It's always been Embiid's team.
And how do we know that this guy wants to have his own team? Like I see too, you said that in the chat that he wants his own team to be unleashed. But then all the rumors we hear is like he wants to go to a California team. Well, there's a bunch of teams in California. He's not going to be the franchise player on the Warriors. He's not going to be that on the Clippers or the Lakers. So, I don't know if I really believe that.
Yeah, I'm not sure too. It's amazing how this is still one of the most, talked about topics, or the topics that amps people up the most. And we're talking about a guy that hasn't played all season long.
Didn't you and I weren't we trying to determine who was going to play first this season, if it was going to be Kyrie Irving or Ben Simmons?
I'm not sure, but it definitely looks like it's going to be Kyrie Irving at this point.
Oh, and actually on that topic, I don't know if you heard, but I guess Bradley Beal got his first shot of the vaccine. Does that make you more willing to bring him to Sacramento? And maybe this is a trick question because I know you love Bradley Beal, and of course you'd want him here in Sacramento.
I would bring Bradley Beal to
Sacramento. It opens up a lot more
unvaccinated.
possibilities.
No, I would totally bring him in, whether he was vaccinated or not. Bradley Beal's like the ideal player for this Kings team. Ideal player, two-way player, a guy who, unlike Ben Simmons, doesn't seem to shy away from, bringing other guys in and not limiting his role, I guess, but working with the other people that he has on his team. I mean, he's played with some pretty big name players as well, and he's a loyal guy. I mean, I don't think I really need to build or paint a picture about why Bradley Beal would be a good addition to Sacramento. He'd be a good addition to any team. So, I think it's cool that he went out and got his first dose of the vaccine. I would sign him or trade for him whether or not he was vaccinated, regardless of that situation.
Yeah, guys, I don't want to talk about Ben Simmons anymore. I'm sorry. We talked about him so much. Yes, I think he could help the Sacramento Kings. I really do. It's just a matter of what are you willing to give up for him. I'm not willing to give up Fox for Ben Simmons at this point. I honestly am not. If I'm going to trade Fox, I'm looking for somebody that I feel is going to fit better on this team and someone I feel like is going to stay motivated.
Yeah, I think we can maybe put the Ben Simmons talk to rest for today until they trade for him, I guess.
Let's talk about Buddy Hield. Didn't really talk much about his shitty game tonight.
What else do you have to say about Buddy Hield?
I saw somebody in the chat saying he's not Buddy Bitcoin anymore.
Was he ever Buddy Bitcoin?
That's what Mark Jones was calling him last night.
Yeah, I think it's a little. I think he was reaching a little bit.
He said, "That's not cash. That's Bitcoin."
Mike says next
I
topic.
didn't find it anymore. All right, we can move on. Everyone wants to trade Buddy. We know that.
We do know that. But the problem is it's beginning to get a little bit more and more unrealistic or difficult to imagine a Buddy Hield trade. I mean, what team is going to want to trade for him at this point?
I mean, I still hear the Sixers are interested. And, you go in a lot of Sixers forums. Seems like a lot of Sixers fans are still really high on Buddy Hield. They see the potential. I think a lot of people just look at him and they say, well, Sacramento's a shitty place to be, and maybe he's just not playing well because it's Sacramento. He's won a three-point competition. He's a good shooter. Maybe if he's on a team with some good players, maybe he'll do a little bit better.
Yeah, perhaps. I guess the Lakers are out there, as Tu says, but a lot of people are saying Malik Monk is better than Buddy, and he already plays for the Lakers.
Yeah. I don't see a Lakers trade working out for Buddy Hield at all. I really don't. They don't really have much to give up.
It's true. They are a little bit handicapped in that regard. You want to talk about Chimezie Metu a little bit more?
Yeah. Just love what I'm seeing out of him. He stays ready. He's long. He's athletic. He plays great defense. He had a steal and a block tonight. Hit that game-winning shot. He just we talked about him earlier this year taking too many shots. I feel like he's calmed that down a little bit, and he's taking what's given to him. And I'm really happy for him. Hitting that shot tonight is going to be a huge confidence booster for him. And I expect him to play well the next couple games, just kind of living off of these fumes and this excitement.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what you said about him. I'm just really happy for him. I like Metu a lot as a player. I think that he's got a lot of potential on both sides of the ball. And really the biggest thing that's missing from his game is a consistent jump shot. But tonight he was 3 of 5 from 3. If he ever consistently develops an outside shot, he could be a real, I don't know about a long-term starting player. I would like to give him a shot at that role, but he will definitely be a serious rotation player in the league for a long, long time. He has a ton of potential, and I would just really like to see him put it together.
Brittany Griner for Buddy Hield, are you doing it?
I saw that. That's a hilarious deal. Yeah, man, at this point, whatever deal I can make that gets Buddy Hield off this team, I'm doing it.
Is she playing the 4 or the 5 for you?
She's going to have to play the 5, I believe. I don't think she can really cover the whole court.
Yeah.
Opposed to the 3 against
sorry
NBA
for
players.
changing the subject, but back on Metu. So, I'm just looking at this Kings team. I'm looking at potential future, and there's a lot of young guys, a lot of young bigs on this team. Even if you weren't to bring in a guy like Sabonis or Miles Turner, you still have Rashawn Holmes. You got Marvin Bagley. I like what I've seen out of Damian Jones. I like what I've seen out of Metu. Is that basically your 4 men that you're rotating in the 4 and 5 position? Or
Oh, sorry, guys. Barry's in slow-mo again. I think I kind of heard your question, and you're right. The Kings do have a fair logjam here at the center position. Not all of these guys necessarily are, all-star talents or starting caliber players. Alex Len has been a starter in this league. Tristan Thompson has been a starter in this league. He's won a championship. Richaun Holmes has been a starter for a long time. To kind of piggyback off of what you're saying there, Barry, have you been worried at all about Richaun Holmes? I realize that he's missed a bunch of games. He's now adjusting to wearing the goggles, all of that stuff. But since he's come back, I can't help but feel like something is a little bit off with him. The connection between him and Tyrese Haliburton hasn't quite been the same. We really haven't seen him affect the games in the same way that he was doing before he had to miss those 7 games with the eye laceration. He only had 6 rebounds tonight, 8 points. He only attempted 5 shots. He doesn't really get to the free throw line as much. I'm not sure if it's a bigger issue of the style of play. The offense is changing around him, and they're not quite using him in the same way. Are you at all worried about Richaun?
I'm not worried about Richaun at this point. I feel like, his money shot, you mentioned it, was that push shot. And that's just something you kind of got to do over and over and over again. Having the goggles now has changed that for him a little bit. I think he needs a few more games to get comfortable, get back in a rhythm, because that really is a rhythm shot, as Katie mentioned during the game. So I'm not worried about him at this point. But if he's still playing like this in a couple weeks, then I'll rethink that.
And if he is still playing like this in a couple of weeks, who are you going to want to see play more? Is it Davion Jones? Is it Tristan Thompson? We haven't seen Alex Len in a long time, but is it any of those guys?
So I'm going to keep pushing this Miles Turner trade. I'd love to bring Miles Turner to this team and play him and Richaun next to each other. Rashawn's not eligible to be traded until after January 14th. So I'd try and play them together as much as I could, see if they fit, see if I need to move on for Richaun or with Richaun, or if I should keep him. But Rashawn's going to be my starting center for now. I might experiment with with Bagley at the 5. I've been talking about that for a while if I need to switch things up. But, I'm not panicking at this point. So I'm not switching anything up for the time being.
Yeah, I would agree that I'm not panicking necessarily at this point, but I'm agreeing with people here in the chat, like Kristen and JN. Davion Jones is really growing on me. I think that he has a really similar skill set to Richaun Holmes, and he also is able to do more than Richaun Holmes can. I would like to see, I'm not ready to say, okay, put him in the starting lineup tomorrow necessarily, but I hope that as Alex Len gets back into this rotation as well, that Davion Jones doesn't fall back to that 4th center on the depth chart, because I think he needs to continue to play more and more and more.
I totally agree.
All right. Do you have anything else to add here before we move on to the next week and game of Kings basketball?
If Rashawn's going to miss a game, let's start Jones and Bagley at the 4 and 5 and see what happens.
Wow. Yeah, here I see a starting lineup of Holmes, Metu, Jones, Mitchell, and Haliburton. What do you think about that?
Where's Fox?
Yeah. Where's Fox is right. And I'm not so sure playing Holmes and Davion Jones together is necessarily the right move. I think you lose a little bit too much floor spacing and shooting if you play both of them at the same time.
Yeah, let's put him in Bagley in there and see what happens.
There you go. All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at the Kings' next game and week of basketball with Kings Crusade.
Alex Len can shoot the 3 too, so, Jones and Len might be an awesome combo off the bench.
I don't know if he can really shoot the 3. He's hit a couple. Welcome back to Royal Rebounds TV, a Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans, by fans. The Kings continue their crusade to get back to the NBA playoffs. Next up is the team we just saw, the Dallas Mavericks. If you're a Kings fan, hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel, please and thank you. All right, Barry. So deja vu, Groundhog Day, whatever you want to call it. Kings play the Mavericks again on Friday. We'll get into keys to the game a little bit more. I do think it's really interesting that the NBA has kind of moved into this scheduling pattern where you see more of these back-to-back games against the same team within the regular season. It's really interesting to me because it kind of gives a playoff type feel, atmosphere to these games in the middle of the regular season, even if the teams aren't necessarily playoff teams. When you play a team back-to-back games, it's not necessarily about looking into the analytics and the statistics and trying to see what a team does best and what they do. It's about in-game adjustments like it is in a playoff series. So we saw the Kings squeak out a nail-biter tonight against Dallas. Give me maybe your one or two key things that you're looking for most as this team plays the Mavericks again on Friday. And I know there is a little bit of a caveat here because we don't know whether maybe Luka will play on Friday or not, but let's just leave that aside for now.
Yeah, so health and safety protocols aside, the Kings need to just focus on the two guys that beat them tonight, and that was Porzingis and Jalen Brunson. And I think the key with these guys is you just got to be physical, especially with Porzingis. You know, we all call him the unicorn because he's amazing that he can shoot and handle the ball at his size, but he's really not a guy that bangs inside. So I feel if you're physical with him, the Kings have all these bigs that we just talked about. I think they all need to use 4, 5, 6 fouls if they need to. They all need to be physical with Porzingis, and they need to trap Jalen Brunson early, and they need to get the ball out of his hands as quickly as possible.
No, I agree with both of those things. It's easier said than done for sure. The Kings defensively definitely like to switch ball screens. It's something that I don't think really works to their advantage in most situations. They certainly have guys that are capable, big men that are capable of switching onto smaller players, you know, for brief periods of time. But from a top to bottom roster standpoint, I don't like the matchups that they get all the time with Richaun Holmes, even Davion Jones, who I think is a big man that moves his feet incredibly well. We've seen Marvin Bagley at times switch on to guards and have success. But I just wish, especially with the guards that they have, Tyrese, Davion, and De'Aaron Fox, I would love to see those guys fight through screens more and try to cancel switches more often than they do. You make a great point about Porzingis. I'll just kind of roll this into my keys to the game. Number one is going to be manage the turnovers. I really wanted to make number one play without fouling because they put themselves in a huge hole early in this game with just not good fouls. They were fouls 25 feet away from the basket, out by the three-point line. We saw Richaun Holmes quickly get fouls, De'Aaron Fox quickly get fouls. They can't afford to do that, you know, and hope to win any game, really, not much less against the Mavericks, even if they're depleted in their roster. But the turnovers are definitely what brought the Mavericks back into this game. And we've seen that all year long with the Kings. It's just a continuing pattern that they happen to have. They play a great first half. They only have 5. And then the third quarter, when they're playing with a lead, they have an opportunity to really put the pressure on Dallas and put this game away. They start turning the ball over, careless passes, just being unsure with the basketball in general. And that's what allowed Dallas to get it going on that run and get back in this game. So number one, definitely manage the turnovers. Number two is going to be double Porzingis immediately when he has his back to the basket. It's one thing if he's going to catch the ball outside on the three-point line. I'm okay with him taking threes in this game. Even though he can hit them, I would much rather have him out on the perimeter jacking up three-pointers all night long than being in the post, getting to the free throw line, which he's very, very good at. So I think if he's got the ball with his back to the basket, in the mid to low post, the Kings need to send somebody at him right away and force the ball out of his hands, especially if Luka's not going to be out there, running the point for them. And then number 3 is cut off the initial drive. And this is, again, easier said than done. Whether it's Jalen Brunson or Luka Doncic out there, the Mavericks really did a lot of damage to the Kings by having that initial drive not be stopped, whether there was a screen or not. And it opened up the three-point line for guys who are pretty consistent three-point shooters. Dorian Finney-Smith has had a pretty good year. They don't have Tim Hardaway right now, but he's been a great three-point shooter for them as well. Kleber, another guy that didn't play tonight. They have very capable people out there that can hit the three. And in the first quarter, despite the Kings playing what I thought was, fairly good half-court defense, they oftentimes didn't cut off that initial drive, and the Mavericks hit a bunch of threes, and they got out to that early 10-point lead in the first quarter. So I think what it really comes down to is playing better defense off the initial pick and roll and doubling Porzingis right away so that you get the ball out of his hands. Because we know if Luka's not playing, they're going to try to get Porzingis going. They want him to score 25 to 30 points.
And don't leave him open on the three-point line. We saw him hitting from San Francisco tonight.
Well, yes, but I'm okay with him taking shots from out there as opposed to him catching the ball, in the 10 to 12-foot range, because he's much more difficult to defend down there. The Kings don't have somebody that has the same type of size as him. So you're already at a disadvantage. He's really good at getting to the free throw line, and he's a great free throw shooter. So he can take all the threes that he wants, in my opinion.
Yeah, and hopefully Alex Len will be back by then, because I think Alex Len can body him up a little bit better than some of these other guys. He's a little bit taller.
Definitely body him up, but I also think that if the Kings play Alex Len on him, he's just going to play more on the perimeter anyway and try to get downhill. He does have a better first step. I think that would be, I like Davion Jones on him a lot. I think Marvin Bagley did an okay job. But really, especially if Luka's not going to play in this game, that with all these guys out, Hardaway, Kleber, Trey Burke, Luka Doncic, those are a lot of their main offensive weapons. So if those guys are still not available on Friday, it's Jalen Brunson and it's Porzingis. Those are the guys.
And, so, one thing I was thinking about today when I was watching the game, and, someone was talking, I don't remember exactly who it was, but someone brought it up in the chat, a few episodes ago. And it was like, how many charges do you see this Kings team take? Like, have you seen them take a charge at all this season?
I saw Davion Mitchell take one today.
Who?
Davion Mitchell.
Okay, I must have missed that because throughout the whole rest of the season,
late in the game,
I have not seen them take many charges at all. So if Porzingis is getting the ball at the top of the key or at the 3-point line and he's driving to the basket or something, let's bring another guy across there and have him set up in front of him and try and get a charge or something like that.
No, I agree with you completely. It's funny that you say that because Davion Mitchell took the charge on Porzingis in this game, but he really is one of the only players on this team that I see consistently try to take charges. And that just speaks to the type of defensive player that Davion Mitchell is. He knows positioning, he knows where to be, and he knows how to stay in front of players first and foremost, or not just knows how, but he also has the physical ability, the quickness, the foot speed, the lateral quickness in order to do that. I think De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton could definitely try to take more charges as well. Even Harrison Barnes, a lot of that is rotation wise and all that stuff. Bottom line is, it comes down to effort right on defense. It's one of the things that we've talked about the most with being a huge weakness on this team. And it's something that they just have to be better at, whether it's from a coaching standpoint or not. The players have to take accountability on themselves.
And you got to be willing to give your body for your team.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. What else do you got for me here for this next game, or perhaps the next couple of games?
Well, Friday is an early game. Kings have not
is an
played
early
well in
game.
these early games, so hopefully, they play a little bit better because it is at home. It's the very last game of the year. Then we take on the Heat, and then the Lakers. I know I've already predicted Kings winning over the Lakers on January 4th, but this Heat game on Sunday should be interesting as well. Tyler Hero is playing out of his mind. We talked a little bit about him in the last episode. That's going to be a really, really tough game for Sacramento. I have no idea whether Jekyll or Hyde is going to show up for Sacramento in that game. But, I'd circle that one on your calendar because it's going to be really, really interesting. The Kings are going to have to make some adjustments, and they're going to have to play a hell of a lot better than they've played recently to keep up with that Heat team.
Yeah, I agree. It's not the greatest matchup at all for Sacramento. The Heat are really a tremendous team on both sides of the ball. And if they're shooting well from outside, they're very, very difficult to beat. Luckily, Bam Adebayo will not be playing in that game. But the Kings are going to have their hands full with everybody else. Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler. I'm not sure if Kyle Lowry will be playing or not. I think he's in. It's so hard to keep up with who's in health and safety protocols.
It's so hard.
Gosh, it's almost impossible. But unless you have anything else, I think we're going to wrap up this show here.
I just want to say, thank you everyone for watching. Thanks for putting up with me and my horrible internet connection here. Hopefully, I will be back in the studio Friday to break down that game. Calvin and I are also going to be releasing another episode of the Royal Report on Friday. We'll catch you guys all after the game. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys smash up that like button and hit that subscribe button to join Calvin and I for future episodes of the Royal Rebounds Podcast.
Absolutely. And yes, Kristen, we will be, I can't tell you exactly what the day is yet, but once we have it in place, in plan, we will absolutely let everyone know when we're going to be at the coin op after, hopefully a Kings win that night. We would love to see all of you guys out there. But thank you everyone for watching.
If we do it and the Kings don't win, we'll do it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks again for watching, everyone. We will see you on Friday for both the Royal Report and the Royal Rebounds Podcast live after the Kings play the Mavericks again and hopefully get a win again. Thanks for watching, and most importantly, what is Barry? Barry says go Kings. All right. Bye, guys.
Woo!